next speaker is Matthew Bonn, who is a drug culture advisor with Changemark Research and Evaluation, and he will talk about perceived impacts following the closure of safer opioid supply programs in Ontario, Canada. Welcome, Matt.
Thanks, Eugenia, for a lovely introduction. Hey everyone, my name is Matthew Bonn. I'm a drug culture advisor with Changemark Research and Evaluation, and this is a short presentation on perceived impacts following the closure of safer opioid supply programs in Ontario. Those are my co-authors. Disclosures, I have personal fees from AbbVie and grant fees from Gilead to disclose. I also like to disclose that I used unregulated drugs most of my adult life, either by smoking or injecting. I have been on safe supply, and I've lost a lot of people due to the North American overdose crisis. So Ontario CRISM node recognizes that its work and the work of its community partners take place on traditional Indigenous territory across the province. We acknowledge that there are 46 treaties and other agreements that cover the territory now called Ontario. We're thankful to be able to work and live and play in these territories, and are thankful to the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people who have cared for these territories and who continue to contribute to the strength of Ontario and to all its communities across the province. So a little bit of background. Canada is in the midst of an unregulated, worsening overdose crisis driven largely by the unregulated drug supply. And in response to that, we implemented safer opioid supply programs to provide a pharmaceutical-grade option compared to using the unregulated drug supply. However, in August of 2024, Ontario's provincial government introduced restrictions on harm reduction initiatives, and that, coinciding with the expiration of some federal funding, forced many of these programs to close. So what we wanted to explore in this study is the experience of safer opioid supply program clients and the anticipated impacts of these program closures on their lives. So when we talk about safe supply, what do we exactly mean? For safer opioid supply, what we're mainly talking about is using prescribed alternatives, so using tablet hydromorphone such as real and generic Dilaudid 8 milligram tablets. Some places use fentanyl patches, some places give people Dilaudids and methadone, or Dilaudids and Cadian, but for the most part we're talking about Dilaudid 8 milligram tablets. So what did we do? We had a qualitative study design was used, and we talked to 25 people using a semi-structured approach who were enrolled in 6 different safer opioid supply programs across Ontario. Participants were recruited through convenience and snowball sampling, and the eligibility criteria for the study was to be in to either be in a safer opioid supply program within the last 6 months, be aged 18 or older, and be English speaking. Then we conducted the interviews virtually and explored participants' experiences with these safer opioid supply programs, looked at some of the anticipated impacts of the program closures and some strategies to mitigate some of these risks. All participants were given a $50 honorarium via e-transfer or MoneyGram. Sometimes if people don't have like an e-transfer account, they'll send it to a colleague at the, like some colleague that's trusted that they can go and take it out of the machine. And all the data was thematically analyzed using Navivo. So some of our socio-demographics, participants' average age was 44.9 years. The gender distribution was evenly split, 48% men, 48% women, and there was one participant identifying as non-binary. The majority of participants identified as Indigenous, while 32% identified as white. Nearly 2/3 were housed, just under 1/3 were unhoused, and 12% were precariously housed, either couch surfing or staying with friends or acquaintances. And some drug use patterns, over 2/3 of participants indicated that their drug of choice was non-prescribed street opioids, and the majority of them indicated that inhalation or smoking was their preferred route of administration. So the results, participants reported that safer opioid supply programs reduced the reliance on the unregulated drug supply. No shit. Decreased their overdose risk and connected them to wraparound health and social services, but the impending closures triggered widespread fear, uncertainty, and anxiety, particularly about returning to that unregulated drug supply, which is so toxic and volatile. Participants also expressed concerns over the loss of critical health and social services and the potential decline in their quality of life. Many expressed frustrations over the lack of meaningful alternatives, difficulties in securing new prescribers, maybe not connected to a safer opioid supply program, but somebody that could supply them Dilaudid, and distress over forced medication tapers. In conclusion, the study highlights participants' concerns that the safer opioid supply program closures may force them back into an increasingly dangerous, unregulated market, ultimately putting their lives at risk. By replacing harm reduction program with treatment services, the government is not reducing the demand for opioid use. Instead, it forces them to return to a very unstable, volatile drug market. We published this in the Harm Reduction Journal on September 24th, and we're still looking at examining effects of the closure of safer opioid supply programs. Here's my contact email and also the lead author's contact as well. Thank you.